good, Kim?
I'm good.
Shall we start?
We can.
Let's get into it. So your journey spans being German-born Vietnamese, then moving to Korea. Let's just start with identity and who you are, because you're a ninja, but you're a Kim, and everything else. Let's go there first.
Okay, so I'm ethnically Vietnamese. I was born in Germany, but I hold two passports, Belgian and German one. And I suddenly got interested in Korea, and now I'm here.
What was the interest in Korea? What drew you?
So my first touch point with Korea was actually through Taekwondo.
Okay.
Since I was 7, a gym opened near my house, and my parents signed me up because I wanted to be like Jackie Chan and do all the moves that he did and fight, right? Yeah. So I didn't even know what Taekwondo was. So I just went and did all the sports. And my sabomnim, my master, was actually from Iran. But he taught us everything in Korean. So all the moves we did was in Korean. So all the techniques we did, the philosophy, and also like counting and stuff. So I had learned Korean without even noticing. I was just repeating. He's like, yeah, you have to learn this vocabulary for this class. And we were just like, okay, for the next upper belt test, you had to recite all those words. So I learned Korean without even knowing it.
You were at least the third person I've had on that's gone from Taekwondo to being here in Korea. One I can think of is Anton Schultz, also from Germany. Yeah. Another is Sanko Lewis. He did his in South Africa, and now he's over here, and now you. Is there anything about that journey, that connection? Because I'm noticing it more and more when we speak about Korea. We often talk about K-pop drawing people in. What is it with Taekwondo that you start learning a martial art and then you end up here?
So actually learning the martial arts was just like very normal for me. I didn't think too much into it, right? It wasn't like it got me into like Korea. It's just like, okay, I did Taekwondo. It's from Korea. But other than that, I didn't think anything about it until like I got into K-pop and Korean dramas. And then I was like, oh, I actually know some Korean words already. So then I started to learn to read, and then I looked up the book, like the Korean, like Pumse, where you like have the forms in Korean, so I could read all the words. Like, oh my God, I can read. So this was like the connection, like reconnection with Korea that I had.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You got into K-pop and K-dramas as well. What was that? Where did you start with that? You're an OG, I guess.
Yeah. I would say like the second generation when K-pop suddenly got onto the radar in the Western world. It was basically very like popular among like the Vietnamese communities in Germany. So everything that's like fashionable or like pop culture from Asia is like first it goes to the Asian communities, and K-pop was very popular, and Korean dramas was very popular in the Vietnamese communities. Yeah. So my friends was like, hey, do you know this band, or do you listen to this music? I was like, no, I have no idea. Like before that, I was just like Western pop culture, what's on TV or what I hear on the radio and stuff. And I was like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's do some research on YouTube. And then I got to know my first band was Big Bang. Big Bang was my first Korean K-pop band that I got to know. And the good thing about Big Bang, it took like the R&B and hip-hop culture and turned it to Korean. Yeah. And suddenly I was like, oh, I like hip-hop, I like the pop culture. And suddenly now it's like Asian format. So it's not too too foreign. And then you have Asian people. Oh, they look like me. Like, so I slowly got into it. But I would say the first time I was like, what is this? Right. It's like so flashy. It's like everybody's wearing like very tight clothes. Like the jeans were super tight. I was like, oh my God, no, I can't get into it. But the more I listen, it's more, oh, this is not bad. Oh, it's cool. And then suddenly like, like back then you burnt CDs for the drive, right? And then I can see over the years, like first it was like Usher, like 50 Cent, Eminem and stuff. And suddenly like it turned, everything was just K-pop.
Wow. Yeah, when it hits deep.
Yeah, it hits deep.
Is it different being ethnically Vietnamese? So you said it became popular in the Vietnamese communities in Germany. And does that play a role in it, like looking for Asian representation or seeing these people that look similar to you? Or that doesn't have any effect? Do you have any thoughts
I would
on that?
say it did have some effect because you will always look at something that's popular and that's similar to you. So this is like, you look at it and it's like, oh, now it has like a similar cultural background that you can understand easily. Because when I watch a lot of like US dramas or like TV series, like I get it, but some of the things it leaves a lot of like question marks, especially if you watch something with your parents and then there's a bad scene just popping out of nowhere and you're like, oh my God, where do I look? It's like
uncomfortable, isn't it?
It's uncomfortable. And with Korean dramas, it was like they had the kiss at the very end of the last episode and it's all good and it was family friendly and I could understand the culture more, so it was more comfortable.
I totally get that, and I also totally get like looking for yourself in mainstream culture, and probably I didn't think about it at the time, but growing up looking at the music that I listened to, you know, there's a lot of white dudes playing guitar and things, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's talking to me in some way. Since you've come over to Korea, one of the things that you do, Kim, is you try to explain like Korea, the culture and the way of life and the speed of everything here. Try to let's open that door. Tell us about that.
So I was always kind of like a culture translator. I always try to connect the West and the Eastern culture. And it came kind of natural. When I first did my exchange semester in 2014 in Hanyang University. And we had a lot of like a mixed group of people from all over the world. So sometimes I need to explain to them why things are in Korea, because some of them don't understand it. So I have to give them a little bit more context about the cultural background and why it is like it is. And then people understood it more. And it came quite naturally to me. So over the past, I would say 2-3 years since I came to Korea, I was just documenting my journey. Basically, I was trying to find information that didn't exist or was like very spread out. So I was just like basically writing to myself, like, hey, this is the information. If you read this, you would be okay. So over the past 2 years, I was just writing everything that happened to me or everything I think about. I just put it into the words and then publish it.
Can you, if we zoom out a little bit, you mentioned about East and West cultures and things like that, and maybe that represents some of your own personal journey. Can you say something about that? How East and West, they vibrate differently, or how you perceive these two geographic monoliths?
Yeah, so I was born into a Vietnamese household. So up until I was, I think 4 or 5, I was in the Vietnamese communities. Like my parents had Vietnamese friends, their kids all speak Vietnamese, so we all played around in Vietnamese. And then I suddenly got exposed to the other side of the country I live in, because when I entered kindergarten, I didn't even speak German. So my mom would just like teach me 2 words. It was pipi kaka. It's like, if you have to go to toilet, just the 2 words. So and in kindergarten I started to pick up German, but it's not like learning. As a kid you just play and suddenly you say words and stuff. And the good thing about in Germany in the kindergarten, it was quite multicultural. So we all kind of spoke German, but we all come from different backgrounds and we learned from each other. So from then on, I basically like got exposed to the Western culture. And then it kind of like always became somewhat of a conflict. Like at home, it's like, oh, this is the Vietnamese culture. Outside, you have the German culture. And then sometimes you bring home the German culture and then your parents like, what is this? What is it? What are you doing? It's like, but the kids in school do that. I was like, no, we don't do this. So,
what are some of those examples of either Western culture or German and then Vietnamese? What some examples, Kim?
This is quite hard to pinpoint right now. But I would say like some of the individualism in the Western world, and then the collectivism in the Eastern culture. So if you experience the Western culture, it's more like it's about me, how I feel, and in the Eastern culture, it's more like how we feel, right? So if I'm like, I don't feel like it, or I don't want to do it, it's like, my parents like, no, you do it. It's like, you don't have any opinion here. It's like, no, I don't want to do it. No, you got your responsibility, you do it. So this is like some kind of like one of the small like differences like you feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. In Korea, you become a lot smaller. If you're in a family or a collective, in a group, in an organization, you have to do a lot of sacrifice and go with the harmony rather than with what you want to do. So some of the things in Korea that you've written about, like, let's look at some of those. So you've come from Germany and a Vietnamese household. You're now in Korea and you write about cultural differences, and your aim is to explain Korea to people so that they can get along. Let's, try to talk about some of these adjustments and these things that you've seen.
So when I first, the thing is, before I actually came to Korea, I was living in Korea virtually.
Okay.
Like for, I would say like 5 or 7 years, because I watched only Korean dramas. I listened to only K-pop, and on TV you had like KBS World. So that was basically the only channel that's run like 24 hours. Like
that was on television?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In Germany now you have like KBS World. So on normal cable you could see all the Korean dramas with English subtitles. And so I was basically immersed in that world already for a long time. Yeah. And me coming to Korea wasn't about if, it was about when. So after I graduated high school, I wanted to go immediately. Like, I'm free, I graduated, I did everything you wanted me to do. Yeah. Now let me go. I was like, nah, not yet. You're still too young. You don't know the world. And it could be dangerous. You don't know anyone. So it took me a little, like a couple more years, like getting into university, studying, and finding out that there is an exchange program at the university to come to Korea. And I signed up to come for the first time. But the thing is, like, when I first arrived, there was like this deep connection that immediately happened when I landed.
Nice.
It was like,
what was it?
I arrived. I'm home. Even though I've never been to Korea, it's like I just lived like virtually, imagine myself being there, going to all the restaurants that they had placements in the Korean dramas, and I was here. Wow. So it was like a huge relief somehow that I came and this is it. And and I would say that fascination never really went away. And every time I went back to Germany, I always feel like this is not where I actually belong. It feels somehow off, right? But if I'm in Korea, I feel like, oh, this is it. But when I go back to Germany, there's like this disconnection. Even though I was born there, I was raised there, I have my family there, but still, like, Korea is kind of different.
We mentioned this before we start recording. Does being Korean passing help with that? Or do you know what I mean by this? Because I would imagine that you can fit in on the subway or on the bus. I'm sorry if I speak out of turn, but how does that work? Like with appearance and language? Yeah.
So I definitely feel that. So I'm just blend in.
Yeah.
As long as I don't open my mouth, people are like, "Oh, you're one of us."
Yeah.
So this is the collectivism. I feel that I don't feel different. But in Germany, I wouldn't say I feel different too, because Germany is also very multiculturally. Like, a lot of people from different backgrounds, but they all speak German. So you never like feel that much. But here I feel like it's more comfortable for me. And and the funny thing is, like, if I speak, people are kind of confused because he's not from Seoul. He's maybe somewhere like from from far away.
Yeah. There's a dialect.
Yeah. Some kind of dialect. I don't know where, but it's somewhere weird. And then I tell them that, I'm German. They're like, what?
And that doubly confuses them.
Yeah. And then it's like, but you're Korean German, like a Kyopo. It's like, no. I'm Vietnamese German. It's like, what? Yeah.
That's amazing. So you were living virtually or vicariously in Korea while you were still in Germany. You landed, you felt at home immediately, and that's a beautiful thing, by the way, because a lot of people go through life and they never quite find their home, or they're always searching for something. So I think that's really cool. Was there any difference between the Korea you expected and what you experience here? Because some people come for a couple of weeks or they come for a semester, and there's a difference between, you go somewhere on holiday, it's lovely. You live there and you see it differently. So let's talk about some of those realities of the lived Korea, Kim.
So the first time I arrived, it was magical. Like the 4 months as an exchange student is like, it couldn't be better. It's like I imagined how it was. And also the thing is, you see so much product placement in Korean dramas that you think it's normal, and you don't realize it until like later in life. Like I would say like maybe like the first 7 years, I didn't even know like product placement was. It was just natural in the settings. You see a Paris baguette behind you. They go to Tusum to drink coffee.
They're always picking up bottles and things.
Yeah. And it felt natural. And when I first arrived, it's like I see all the brands that I knew from the dramas. So it feels like, oh, I'm in a drama. And it feels like, so like, oh, I'm the main character now, walking through life. And and then I came back to Germany, and from then on, my thought was always, okay, I'm going to be back in Korea. But first, let's do it a couple more times. Just go on vacation. And every time I go on vacation, I would call up my friends I met through the exchange semester, and they would all meet up. But I know like it only happens in the first 3 weeks and before I leave. But if I stay too long, they don't meet. I was like, oh, he's there. We don't care. But oh, he's coming again. Okay, let's all meet again. And then it's like I'm leaving next week. I was like, okay, let's meet again.
Before you go, it's gonna be like that.
So during those trips, I kind of feel like, okay, if I live, I won't be able to meet my friends all the time. This is like a kind of adjustment I knew early on. If I live, I won't be seeing my friends that often. So it would be maybe time to find new friends or do something else. But it's an expectation I set early on, so it wasn't like broken, because I know like once you come here, you party, you drink, you have so much fun and do like all this K-pop fever dream kind of thing. And then once it passes, you kind of find your middle ground that, okay, you still live in Korea, but you need to find other ways or meaning to stay in Korea. Because that phase will pass, and then you will need to think, okay, what now?
Right. Tell me about making Korean friends, because that can be very difficult for some people. Some people will say that, and they spend a lot of time in foreign communities, and they find it hard to actually make friends. What have you observed about becoming friends with Korean people? Are there any pieces of advice or any difficulties to overcome? How's that been, Kim?
So I found a lot of like Korean friends through staying in guest houses and hostels. A lot of them are not from Seoul, but they also just come for traveling. And also like apps, just write like Hello Talk and like Bumble, Tinder, all this stuff where you can meet people. But what I found out is like my Korean was always kind of good. So I could chat in Korean, read and chat. The speaking wasn't that well until I recently decided to speak. But I think the chatting and being like more natural in writing, so the other person doesn't feel like burdened by having to speak English. So my conversations were really funny because they would speak in Korean, I would understand, but I would just reply back in English. So we had this two-way conversation. People in the middle probably wouldn't understand, but we did. So that went on for a long time. And now I make friends through, like, I have a hobby. It's MMA. So every day I would go and meet the same people and we talk. And this is like, I would say this is my closest group because we meet every day. And this like, if you have a hobby or something like that, you can join a club and then you can get to meet more Koreans who do the same hobby as you. Because I would say like the art, like the act of that hobby, like traverse to the languages. So even like I don't speak well, but I can fight well, like the other person respects that. And then suddenly we like open up a little bit. And that happens like naturally.
I agree. It's exactly the same. So I play football and I'm the only foreigner in my team. And I realized when the youngsters start calling me Hyung and things like this, and I call the ones older than me that, but then I realized I'd been accepted and it was football that brought us together, nothing else. And that's a really important thing. So then language, I think you need to speak Korean to be in Korea. And it's a difficult language. You said you picked it up easily through Taekwondo. You were probably picking it up subconsciously. But tell me about how you've experienced the language, because some people live here 20, 30 years and they can just pipi kaka, like your mum taught you in German, right? Tell me about that language and the importance of it when living here.
So I didn't learn it formally. There was a Korean class I did in university. It was just once a week. And it was kind of slow for my pace because I was already living, like speaking Korean, listening. I think just the constant listening helped me a lot to pick up the sound and how to sound a little bit more natural. And also watching like the variety shows. This is how people actually speak. And that's important because if you watch the news or like some other like high level, you get very confused because of the words are so foreign. But if you see like how people actually interact and speak, and that's how I picked it up. So I would watch it a lot with subtitles, with like English subtitles for a long time. But the words, they came naturally. And then you kind of like try to imitate the sounds. You don't even need the words, like the sounds like 감사합니다, like that. Before, if you learn it in Korea, it's like 감사합니다. It sounds very unnatural. So watching a lot of real life interaction through like dramas helps a lot to just pick up on the sounds and know how it sounds a little bit more natural.
And I think if you're young, it's easier because to me, sometimes I think I'm saying it exactly right, but because I'm older, right, they're like, no, that's not right, David. I'm like, but it sounds right. Younger people, I think their ears are more attuned and sensitive. There's probably science in this as well, but yeah, that's totally true. I generally just say, 감사합니다. You just start with the shit, and then you're good.
Especially going to stores. A lot of people that get confused, like 안녕히 계세요. And it's like, you don't need that. If you go out of the store, it's like just like
just to say is enough. Yeah. And it's looking down and bowing and all of these. There's a physical change beyond language that you have to do, because probably very similar in Germany, but in England it was always stand up straight, don't put your hands in your pockets, make eye contact. In parts of Korea, eye contact is very bad. You're not meant to make eye contact. You're meant to look down, keep your head down, be small. How have you found that like physical difference being in the world here?
I think it came very natural to me because in Vietnamese culture, you also bow down to elders. And also when I stepped into the Taekwondo gym, I was also bowing a lot. So every time you go, like bow. But like you said, like looking into people's eyes and stuff. But I kind of sometimes ignore that just to make the connection, right? Like when I go around my neighborhood with my friend and he's like, why is everybody greeting you? Why is everybody knowing you here? I was like, I'm kind of like the vice mayor here. Like I go to people, shake hands and ask how they're doing. So this is like a different vibe people have of me. And I mean, like, I just spread positivity. So people are happy to see me. I'm happy to see them, right?
That's a beautiful thing. And it's nice to connect with people, to see them and to acknowledge them and say, I see you and let's talk about something. A lot of Korea is untacked these days. It's kiosks. And some of my students that might classify themselves as neurodivergent, I'm not sure of the language, they say they love coming to Korea because they don't have to speak to anyone. They walk into a coffee shop, go to a kiosk, take their coffee, go somewhere else, and you order from a computer on a table. How do you feel about this nature of Korea, where it's becoming, the subways are quite quiet, aren't they? There is a silence here sometimes.
Because everybody's just looking at their phone. This is what a lot of my foreign friends who come to visit Korea is like, everybody's on their phone. It's like if you go to Subway, everybody's just looking down and immersed in their own world. And the untech culture, I don't know. Like I remember having go to the struggle of ordering at McDonald's. And I was like, I know what I want to say, but if they answer, I have no idea. So usually like, Big Mac 하나 주세요. And then it was like 정리해 있어요. 봉투 필요하세요. Like a lot of like question out there. I was like, I just want the Big Mac.
Just say nah.
Yeah. And suddenly you come up with a lot of stuff. I was like,
loads of sauces and napkins.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's also like the fun and the challenge. Like after like years, I understood what they say about like, do you have a membership? It was like, it happened like 10 years, like 점립하세요. It was like, do you have points or membership? It's like, this is what they keep saying.
I still have those moments all the time because I still study the Korean language and my teacher will say something and I'm like, that's what they've been saying. And I have these aha eureka moments, and I've been responding to it subconsciously the whole time. But finally, you actually see the characters or something, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I can feel your positivity, Kim. Korea gets a lot of smack online. It's very easy to be popular by talking bad about Korea and down. And of course, there are some bad things and things that should be acknowledged. How do you feel about that culture, about that whole industry? It seems, the big famous video recently, Korea is over. Tell me how you respond to this negative portrayal of Korea online.
I think like any portrayal that comes from the media never reflects the truth. So unless you actually see it with your own eyes and you come to visit, it's like, because we see war and bad news all over the world, but in all those countries, people are actually still living there. So they must have like some kind of routine life that they interact with each other. So I don't get too much into like the bad media stuff. And I also feel like Korea has so much to offer. It's safe. People trust each other. There's like this safety that you don't feel in other countries anymore. And the trust that people have because they follow this one collective culture of like, okay, you don't take my stuff, I don't take your stuff. It's all good, right? So everybody understands the culture and everybody follows it. So it takes away a lot of thinking. And this is what people usually don't say because it's already obvious for a lot of people. So let's find something else to talk about. So they find some bad stuff. But I mean, like every country has a pro and cons. So if you live in both worlds, you can compare. But if you only live in one country, then it's hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, like a lot of foreigners who come to Korea and then get interviewed on the streets, how do you feel about Korea, racism and stuff like that? I would say like it's all about how you take it, what your response to it is. Because I am here in Korea for now like 3 years consecutively and I feel great. I have great interactions. Of course, like paperwork and bureaucracy is pain, but it's anywhere in the world. If you go to Germany and would go to the immigration there, good luck.
Yeah. I love your positivity about this, and I share it as well, by the way. And sometimes, it's we will find uncomfortable situations, but we can choose how to react to it. And sometimes, people, they might not be doing things knowingly, or they might just be having a bad day. Are there any cons? So I don't want to focus on the negativity too much, but do you see any cons about being here in Korea? So for me personally, as a father, I might say sometimes elements of the education system I see pushed on my children. But what do you see in terms of the cons?
Yeah, so this is also when I think about having a family here, that would be like the education. That is one point where I feel like I'm happy to have lived in Germany with the education I had. Like we would have school from 8 to 1 and then free. Yeah. So I would go home and spend my time on TV or outside playing around, right? So I would say like the education I had was great, but now I feel like it's shifting all over the world. So in Germany, they also have like school like longer, so until like 4 or 5. So I feel the shift. So even if I want to raise my child in Germany, it's not like the childhood I have, right? So I can't go back. And I feel like because Korea's birth rate is going down so much, I have a theory that if you have a child in the future or in this season, it will be gold.
Yeah.
Because there are no children anymore. So you have all the competition right now, but in 20 years from now, you don't have competition. You will be treated like a king, right? In the future.
Agreed.
So a lot of like, I feel like a lot of like Koreans or people in general these days, they don't want to have any children because they imagine themselves going through all the hardships they had to go through. So they just projecting the future they had onto the future their children might have. But I feel like the world is changing already. So we have AI, we have all the different stuff that we can't imagine is happening in the future. So I don't think we need to worry about that and just adapt as it goes. Yeah.
Agreed. I think people project straight lines into the future without accounting for change. And you know from your own life that the world was different back when you went to school and today. I think children go to school longer now because parents are busy. And so it's kind of a form of babysitting, I think. Right. In the past, women didn't work as much, and now they have careers. You mentioned about possibly starting a family here. What's dating like in Korea in 2025 for you?
I actually don't have a lot of dating experience. I just meet a lot of people casually. But dating, I would say it's hard anywhere in the world.
yeah.
If you go on the apps, it's like, especially as men, it's like you don't get like matches at all. Like it can take weeks to just get one person to say hi to you, and then they go ghost you. So I would say dating as a man now these days, it's harder, right? So I luckily have found my girlfriend through like a mutual contact. We got to know each other like organically, I would say, and it works out well. But I can't tell how dating is for other people and how they will experience it, because it's a different experience for every individual.
Especially because through apps, you're competing with almost K-pop stars and celebrities, because people look on their phone and they look at K-pop and influencers and Instagram, and then they go to a dating app and they look at real people and they're like, no. It's hard to compare, isn't it? Yeah. Tell me about the pali pali culture. One of my favorite things, this is a true story, going to Vietnam with the children and like ordering a coffee and then sort of going back up to the counter after 5 minutes and like, is everything okay? Did I do it right? And they're like, yeah, we're making it, just wait. And I was like, oh, I'm not in Korea anymore. In Korea, it's like this. Tell me how you've observed this kind of pali pali culture. Is it a superpower? Is it a liability?
I feel like if you experience, you know what the pali pali culture is not. So if you grew up in Germany and everything is kind of slower, everything is like more of a struggle. But once you experience the pali pali culture, it's actually a superpower. But I would say for Koreans who like just have all this convenience from the day they are born here in Korea and go to other countries, they feel like a lot of 답답해. A lot of frustration. Oh, why is this so slow? Why doesn't this work or that work? Especially a lot of my my Korean friends who go study abroad in Germany, they learn a lot of like patience skills, especially with like the train system and stuff that's not coming.
Internet speeds.
Yeah, internet speeds.
Wow.
So I just went to Sydney a couple months ago, and I was seeing a page load was like a new experience again. I was like, oh my God, it's like Instagram's loading so slow these days. Because here I always have like the fastest speed.
You never see a loading screen or anything. It's just instant. Yeah. Which can be a really beautiful thing. It can lead to impatience, I think. People do things quickly. How do you get on? I mentioned when I play football, the younger people call me sort of Hyung. How do you get on with this hoching culture? Because in Korea, you don't use people's names generally. Right. Can you maybe explain some of this or how you've experienced it since you've been here? Yeah,
so just calling somebody at their name is actually quite, I would say, rude kind of thing. Or you if you meet somebody and then you have to put a name, like David Neem, onto it. But if you're in a work environment, then you also have like all the different levels of hierarchy that is in the company and outside of the company. Then if you get closer to people, then you call them Hyung or Nuna, or some of them say, hey, you can just drop the hierarchy down, like we are all the same, so we can speak like more casually with each other. And yeah, it's still not easy for me, I would say, because I'm in a like very special place where I just can select the people I meet, and all the people I meet are very like friendly and open. They're also kind of Western inspired. Like, come on, we're all the same. We're on the same level. Let's just talk casually with each other. But if you're in a like a kind of business setting, and then I am trying to also like kind of ignore it. I acknowledge it is there, but I want to have the rapport faster. So I'm more casually with like even like CEOs or Depyo names and stuff like that. So I'm more like, okay, we can talk. It's like we're both just people, right? So this is like maybe if I don't have this nunchi too much, it frees you from a lot of like social norms and chains, I would say. So having this Wegugin card, the foreigner card, actually can play a role in there. Yeah.
Tell me about nunchi.
Oh yeah, now you. Yeah, it's actually hard to explain to the Western world because it doesn't actually exist that much. So even like in the Vietnamese culture, you also have this where you just see who's the elders, who do I cater to, who do I greet first, and have this kind of hierarchy also just in the family. And for people who don't grow up in that, it's like nerve-wracking, and also like they have to think a lot. It's like, am I doing it right? It's like they have to observe more than they should. But I would say nunchi is more like read the room and also know who's in charge of the room, I would say. Yeah.
There's that hierarchical understanding you need to have. The psychologist Lee So-hyun once described it to me like this. She said something similar to 기침해도 않는다. That even if somebody just goes, you're meant to know what that means. Like deep down, that means either get me some water, close the door, please stop speaking. Just from a cough alone, you have to be like that tuned in to this society. And it's real, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it works here.
Yeah. So a lot of like friends who try to like go in it like logically, they struggle a lot. It's like, oh, in which situation do I have to do this and this? And it's like, it's hard to explain, and you have to feel it. You have to do some of your mistakes, and then you will learn, probably. Yeah.
Do you think some people are just wired differently, and therefore some people resonate with this Korean? Because MBTIs and personalities, some people are positive, some people are a little bit more cynical, some people are T's and F's and all of these things, right? Do you think some people are just more naturally tuned in to possibly living here, or can anyone adapt?
I would say anyone can adapt, but you need to find kind of your goal of what you want to do in Korea. I think it's more important than for a lot of, instead of like looking at the personality, I would look at like, what's your goal in Korea? What do you want to achieve? What's like the perfect life you would have if you live in Korea? For some, it would be, I want to, like me personally, I wanted to live in Korea, but not work in a Korean company. That was my goal. So it took me a while to actually move because I don't want to go through that struggle. So I had to make my life somehow that I can live in Korea without being too involved or being chained down in Korea. So that's why I'm like a software developer. So I can work all around the world and still be in Korea. And for other people, it's like a career. It's like if they come from a developed country and Korea gives a better opportunity, they can come and then they can build up their life here in Korea. So it depends on your goal of what you want to do in Korea. Because I say that because once the K-pop phase and the K-drama phase and you eat all the samgyeopsal in the world, then it will become just normal. Then you have to find your way. What's after that, right? So, yeah.
Some people might suggest you're trying to get the best of Korea without experiencing the real Korea. So you said you want to live here, but you don't want to work in a Korean company, and so you do this. Why don't you want to work in a Korean company? Why do you want to? What's that?
Like, I would say basically it's just the vacation time. Because I wanted to be free in a way where I can just still live in Korea, but whenever I need to go back to Germany, I don't need to like take vacation or anything. I just go back and then visit my family, say hi, and then fly back to Korea.
Yeah.
And I also like, before I did a lot of research on how the Korean, working for a Korean company is, and talked to a lot of people. And I came to the conclusion is like, a lot of my Korean friends, they feel like Korea is hell for them. But I would phrase it differently. It's like, if you would not work in Korea and just live and just earn your money, would you still be willing to live in Korea? It's like, yeah, I would, totally. It's like, Korea is perfect. just like working. It's like, so that's what I like got to know about it. And that's why I was like, okay, I want to do that, like living in Korea without being in this Korean work system. So this took me so long to actually like move here.
I completely agree, because sometimes my university students will tell me they want to graduate and get a job. I'm like, you don't want to get a job. Jobs suck. Like, who wants to go to work? Some people have a very fulfilling, rich career and they enjoy it, but most people would rather stay in bed or go outside and play and drink or eat. Like, work is something you do because you have to, not. And so it seems you've got the best of both worlds with that. How do you manage with the weather? Is it easy for you? Because for me, first arriving, like the summers, I've got hair on my arms and things like this. You know, I'm built for the English climate, not for this. For me, it's hard here.
Yeah. For me, it's also hard. So in 2022, it was my first time where I experienced all the 4 seasons. And I came to the conclusion it's not 4, it's 2.2.
Yeah, yeah, the 0.2s are small.
Yeah, the 0.2 is small. And you have a very long summer. It's humid, it's hot, and mosquitoes. It's like, even if you turn on the air conditioning all day long, it's like the room temperature doesn't drop. And even if you close all your windows, somehow mosquitoes come in, right? And if you go out, you just start sweating. So now I what I do is, like, in summer, I just leave Korea.
This is really the best of both worlds. Just leave Korea.
Just leave Korea for a while, like 2 months, and then come back. And if it's still hot, then just go to another country again. Yeah.
I would have thought the winters would have been hard for you, but I guess this is the German in you speaking. That it's the summers that are hot.
What I like about Korean winter, it's cold, but it's still sunny.
So you wear sunglasses in winter.
Yeah. So you feel cold, then you wear padding and stuff like that. You go out, you're still warm. But the summer is like you can all your clothes and you're still hot, you know?
So I've asked people that came here in the 1960s, that came over, and I say to them, how did you survive, like, in 1960 with no aircon? And they would look at me very seriously and say, David, we died. And then they would say to me, and in winter, we died again. Because now it's probably the most convenient Korea has ever been. You know, the subways and everything is very air conditioned, which is nice. How do you get on with Korean fashion? You're a very colorful, you're a very bright person, and, you know, Korean people, ashamedly, I'm wearing black today. I like colors too. What are your observations on Korean fashion? Because there's a lot of whites and blacks and don't stand out. And
so what I observed is, like, when I first came out, I thought Korea is very fashionable. Like, they wear all the different pieces and stuff. But once you recognize the pattern, you see it everywhere. And then everybody's like wearing the same stuff, kind of like same fashion, just like sometimes they switch the day and have like some kind of other things. And I'm actually not very fashionable. I'm wearing the clothes that I have for 20 years, literally. And because my friends say, you wear all the same clothes already, then they sponsor me. So there's like, here, I got some clothes that I don't need, then you wear it. And that's how I get my clothes. I don't do actively shopping. And it's like Korea fashion and trends, they come and go very fast. So I don't even bother like following them. I have my clothes and then I just wear it until the end.
You've written a little bit about Jong, and how that works. And for me, one of the ideas of Jong is gift giving. So a little while, maybe about 2 months ago now, one of the elder members of my football team came and just gave me a pair of sneakers. Pair of trainers, and like I went home and had a look at them and like, these are quite expensive, but he just gave me a pair of brand new trainers for just because I'm a dongseng, I think. And sometimes gifts are very small, sometimes they're big. How do you have you noticed anything about gift giving in Korea? This idea of being connected to people. You don't say I like you or I love you. You give them a piece of bread or chocolate.
Right. So it's very similar to the Vietnamese culture of giving and taking, but mostly like it goes down from the hierarchy. The older you are, the more you give. But then you receive as a dongseng, but then you be the older one in this other cases. So in one setting, you might be the youngest, so people give you a lot. But if you are the oldest in another setting, then you have to give back. And it's going around and around. And for me, it comes quite naturally. And I feel like I don't have any, like I don't think about it. and I don't do like calculation. Oh, last time you paid, so now I have to pay. I was like, I just pay whenever, and then we fight for it. I was like, no, you paid last time. I was like, okay, I don't care. So I feel like this is like the unspoken rule of like paying and just receiving is quite cool, I'd say, because in a lot of countries in the West is like all splitting the bills, and then you ate 3 more peanuts than me, you have to pay more, and then it's like, oh, I just pay, go home. Right? Yeah. So it's less about thinking that way. It's just more like, okay, you pay next time, somebody will pay for me, and I will pay now, and then it just goes on in a circle, and everybody feels good in the end, right?
Completely agree with that. You mentioned that there's a lot of similarities between Korea and Vietnamese culture, and this will be the Confucianism perhaps, as well as the geography. Are there differences between Korea and Vietnamese culture? Of course there must be, but like not being of either culture ethnically, are there any differences between Korea and Vietnamese culture where there's clashes or?
Yeah, somehow I would say Korea right now in this day and age is more orderly. So that's why I love Korea, is that I come from Germany, living in a Vietnamese household. Coming here is like I have the best of both worlds. Like if I see a price, I don't have to haggle for it. It's like I see it, I pay it. That's it. No tip and stuff like that. So this is good. And when I go to Vietnam, I'm actually quite overwhelmed because you have cars and like all the scooters.
Lots of scooters.
Lots of scooters.
Yeah.
Passing by. And yeah, it's like for me, I feel overwhelmed when I go to Vietnam.
I don't know if this question is appropriate or not, but there is a deep sort of history between Korea and Vietnam with war and all sorts of other things, but there's also a beautiful love of K-pop and football coaches going abroad and things like that. It's not just one-sided. Does that ever come up, or do you have any thoughts on that? I've never really asked anyone about this. There are some tensions between Korea and Vietnam, but there's also a lot of love. Any thoughts on that relationship?
Actually, I didn't know about this tension for a long time, and then a lot of people would come up to me and ask me about, like, because Korea did something during the war and stuff like that, but I actually haven't looked into it, so I don't know about that. But I feel like Korea is now globally so accepted that now Vietnam and Korea have very strong ties, also in trade.
Yeah.
And a lot of the culture is being exported to Vietnam. They have a Lotte Mart over there, and they even in Saigon, they also have like a district for all the Koreans, like District 7 or something.
Okay.
And then I go there and then buy my banana uyu and stuff, and have some fried chicken there.
Yeah.
So I feel like it happened maybe in the past, but for now, I would say there's no bad blood, I would say.
Yeah, and going there now, if Korean people go to Vietnam, what's interesting is in the past, when Korean people went abroad, maybe people would say sort of ni hao to them or something like this, which would, Koreans would find really, but now people say onni, annyeonghaseyo, yepayo. That's really that's the effect of Hallyu, I think. We talk about sort of K-pop and numbers, but now when Korean people go abroad, they're seen and they're recognized. And if you go to Saigon or places in Hanoi, you will see like Korean nail shops and massages and supermarkets and restaurants. It's real, the influence of Korea. Yeah. Why is it so big in Southeast Asia, do you think? Is there just Asian vibes? Because I have lots of Vietnamese students that love Korea, love K-pop.
Yeah.
Do you know what the appeal is? Is it just the future? Is it just the fashion? Is it just something that speaks to them?
Yeah, I would say Korea, when we look back in the time, I would say like when I grew up, Hong Kong culture was very popular, and then Taiwanese culture got really popular, and now then Japanese, of course, like anime, it has always been there, and now that's the next wave. It's the Korean culture that gets published into the world. And because it's also so close, like the East Asian countries, they would look into like, oh, what's currently like the Hollywood of Asia, and that will be Korea. And I've been saying that for like 15 years already. Like, oh, why do people like Korean dramas, or why do they like K-pop? I would say like if you look at Hollywood and the pop culture over there, that same thing in Korea, basically. Yeah.
And I wonder what might come next, because you can see it's sometimes linked to economic development, like Hong Kong and then Japan. These countries were developed and now it's Korea's turn. And whether next it might be Indonesia or Vietnam, or it might be one of these other countries that comes up in the next 10 or 20 years and they have their moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Because back then, I feel the waves coming from Korea, because I was so into it, and I celebrated every victory that they had. And I saw so much potential in just the production. It's like having the music videos, like all the sets and the dance choreography. It was like, this is made for the global stage. Yeah. So I saw this coming, but that it actually came, I was actually quite surprised though. Yeah. Like now I go to a random European city and I see some kids doing the K-pop choreographies like on the streets. I was like, I wished I had that. It was like when I was home alone and doing my dances,
burning CDs.
Burning CDs and like have a like little webcam and like, trying to do the moves. But now like people like have the community, they find each other and then they meet up and then they learn the dances and they film it and then upload it. So it's beautiful. Like I wished I had that, but it came true somehow, my vision.
You could have been famous, viral, if they had these kind of cameras. Yeah. Are you still into any of the music, the dramas, the movies? You mentioned like Hanyang programs earlier. Do you still watch or engage with any of these things?
Yeah, so I would say the intensity has gone down a lot since I moved. Yeah. But before that, it would be like all day. Now it's like I'm very selective of what I watch and what I hear. I got my favorite K-pop group, which is Twice.
Okay.
And I've been following them for like the past, now it's their 10th year coming up. And the other groups, I listen to it like occasionally, but I'm not like looking into their birthday when they have their debut, what their like a star sign is and everything. Like I don't go to the rabbit hole, but like I acknowledge it. And these days, like with Korean dramas, I also don't watch it a lot anymore because I feel like it has been now globalized, so it kind of lost their Korean essence in a way, because sometimes things can be offensive in other countries, which is not offensive in Korea, and now the production team or the writer have to take this into consideration. So many things that now is like we don't want to offend any country. It's like now you have this nothing, right? So I feel like somehow the Korean dramas have kind of lost its edge. Yeah.
Did you see the one with IU on Jeju, the Poksak?
I heard about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's really interesting because it feels like they've made a Korean drama for Korean people. And so I think that's when Korea does its content well. I think when it aims at the Western market and it localizes and it tries to appease Western sensibilities with cultural appropriation or gender sexuality and these kind of things, it's good, and that there's a place for that. I agree, but when it's Korean stuff for Korean people, that's when it really resonates. Tell me something about Twice, because this is very selfish. I have shares in JYP.
Oh,
What are Twice up to these days, or is there anything big? Can you?
Yeah. So you see, you know that Coldplay has a concert for the past 5 days or something, right?
I do, yes. And Jin's been there and everyone. Yeah.
And Twice has been opening for them for the past days.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This is a true story, Kim. Sometimes I give my students like an open book exam at university. So they can come in with their laptops and use their notes. And so I tell them, when you do the test, you can have your laptop open, you can look at the internet, you can use Kakao Talk, you can drink coffee, you can listen to music. And they're like, oh, great, And I say, but you're not allowed to listen to Coldplay. If you listen to Coldplay, that's an immediate fail. And then they like look at me and they're like, are you serious about that? And I'm like, just one semester I went, yep, I'm absolutely serious. You listen to Coldplay, you're done. And the students were like, oh my God. And so it's become sort of this meme that I really hate Coldplay. And now Twice are opening for them. Yeah. I have to change my mind about it.
What's your relationship with Coldplay?
Oh, they were just big when I was at high school.
Yeah.
And so it's like, also, I find a lot of the music they do these days, it's nice music, right? But it's a bit boring. And Korean people tell me, Professor, I like rock music. And I'm like, okay, what rock music do you like? I like Coldplay. That's not rock music. It's like Radio 2 music for uncles or something. But like, yeah, fair enough. They spread a lot of love, and a 5-day concert series here in Korea.
I think, it's a long.
They love it here, don't they? Yeah.
It's sold out for the past days. So.
Yeah. No, fair play to them, and they spread a lot of love, and they have a nice message, I think. Your work, the articles that you write, Kim, and the sort of the comics and the visuals you do, can you just maybe say something about that so people can be aware of how to find you, where to find you, and this thing?
Yeah, so now I'm mostly on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written articles about Korea, what I learned, especially the visa processes that I went through, and everything I'm learning, I'm just documenting it and publishing it. And I'm also finding new tools and ways to publish the message that I have in different formats. So I have like the long form articles, the carousels, the guides, the short guides, and then also comics, like just like having my personal experience into it. And I've been creating them with AI tools because I can't draw. So now I feel like I have another tool that helps me visualize what I want. So I have this idea, but now I can put it into the screen of what I want, and AI has been helping me a lot to do that.
How's the visa process? How's the visa process?
The visa process in general, or?
Well, yeah, in general, and talk about it, because I think that's one of the things that is a big barrier for people coming here. You need a visa to work. You need a visa to live here if you want to be here. What maybe our experiences were a bit different over the years. I've done drugs tests, HIV tests. You know, the regulations and rules have changed so much. And when I got my permanent residency visa, I didn't know what was happening, and I just sat down and somebody started speaking to me, and I just started answering the questions, and at the end of it they stamped something, said you're a permanent resident, and I went, that was it? And they went, yeah, that was, you've just done the interview. So what's your experience been?
So I've been through the visa process a couple of times now as an exchange student, on a business visa, now on a working holiday visa, on the startup visa. So now I've been through a lot of the process. It actually comes down to the document preparation and how people prepare for the documents. And I would suggest now with AI, first ask ChatGPT, what do I need for this visa? Because they got most of the answers. And if you're missing, or because sometimes that you need to explain some stuff that needs to be written, AI can write it for you now. It's like, oh, write me an itinerary for my working holiday. So they would give you a whole list of what you can do in Korea, and you don't have to come up with it anymore. So things have gotten easier, and I think the process is slowly getting more aligned. I would say it's not perfect yet because it still comes down to the immigration agent, who has still a lot of power. And the more you prepare, the better you can go through the process. And a lot of people think too logically about it. It's like, oh, I just hand in the document last year. Why do they need it this year? It's like, just do what they ask for.
Just do it.
Just do it. If they need this document, print it out again and give it to them, and then they be happy. But a lot's like, oh no, but they probably have that in this database or in the storage or in the archives. Like, no. Every time you submit something, it's a completely new process. So just follow the rules, give them all the documents that it asks for, and even more, prepare even more, have a lot of copies of other things too, just in case. So you'll be on the safe side. So yeah.
What's the startup visa? Is that worth it? Is that a good one? Because I wanted to ask you about sort of digital nomad lives, and this is very far removed from me. Can you tell me anything about startup visas?
Yeah, so the startup visa is basically a visa that lets you open a business in Korea. But what you need is at least a bachelor degree. And you need to take the OASIS classes, so the startup classes that the government offers for free. And you take those classes, you have your bachelor's degrees, then you can actually get a startup visa in Korea.
What are the Oasis classes? That's where you say Coldplay sucks and Wonderwall and we're back onto British rock.
So OASIS means for Overall Assistant System Immigration something.
Yeah,
so
okay, right.
It's like a long name.
Yeah.
But it helps you establish a business in Korea. And I feel like this was the right visa for me to be on. Because I do software development, so opening a business here and then still work around the world is perfect in my case. And but if there are like easy visas to get to experience Korea for a long time, for a year or 2 years, I would definitely recommend you, if you below 30 or 34, do a working holiday visa.
Why is that?
Because it gives you a very easy visa to live in Korea for a year or 2 years. In some countries like the UK, you can get 2 years in Korea being like a digital nomad or just living here. And they even for some countries, raised the age to, instead of 30, 34. Wow. So if you're from the UK, 34, and you can stay in Korea for 2 years. And it has no attachment. It means like after the 2 years it's done, you can decide to do something else in Korea or just move back without any consequences. So it's not like a really long-term commitment, but just to try and live. That's what I did, because I feel like, okay, I'm about to turn 30. I want to experience Korea for a whole year. And this was like my last chance to do that. And after that year, you still can decide, is Korea right for me or do I go back? And after that year, you gain all the experience, the knowledge, and also, okay, I did that. I lived in Korea for a year. It was not as I imagined, or it was exactly I imagined, but you at least have this experience, and then you don't have any regrets afterwards, because this is like such an easy visa to get.
What are some of the advantages or disadvantages of being a digital nomad in Korea? Is it a good place to do that? I mean, how does it compare to other locations?
I haven't been to a lot of other locations,
Okay.
but Korea is an awesome place to do digital nomading. You have all the cafes, you have fast-speed internet, and you also have like co-working spaces that is open for everybody or foreigners, where you can go. Like the Global Startup Center, they have like a co-working space that's open every day. And if you're a foreigner, just go and then you can do your work. And also meet other like people who are living in Korea and just connect and see how they are living. Yeah. And so it's a great opportunity here.
Do you know anything about this sort of community or culture? Because I'm in institutions and universities, so I don't really see it. I see it in the newspapers. I see reports about digital nomads and things like that, but like I don't know what it is. Or I imagine like hippies with dreadlocks with a laptop on the beach in Thailand or something. That's to me a digital nomad. But do you know anything about the reality of it, or the community, the values, or the people inside of it?
So for me, a lot of people have different like definitions for digital nomading. For me, it was like being like independent from where I live. It's like I can work whenever I want and where I want. This is the freedom. So, but I wanted to be based in Korea and do that work while I can still maybe go back to Germany and do the same work, or go to Tokyo and do the same work. So, but still be based in Korea.
Yeah.
So this is kind of my freedom. A lot of other people might think like, okay, I just travel all the time. But I tried that in Korea for a year. So I would every months or like 6 weeks, I would just move to a different place in Seoul. So I did that for a year. Just had my little luggage and then just traveled and go around. And what I felt like, it's exhausting. Because every new environment, you need to find your things again. Like
coffee shops and bakeries.
Bakeries, which coffee shop opens the earliest so I can do my work, or where's the gym close by. So there's always like a struggle every time but it teaches you how to adapt and how you can just live very like minimalistic. And I gained something from it.
What part of Seoul surprised you most? Or if you were moving around, was there any place that you were like, oh wow, this is amazing, or this is terrible? Was there anything memorable from that 6 week moving?
Yeah. I would say Gangnam.
Yeah.
I expected a little bit more, but it's more like a place where people just go to work. Yeah. I thought like, oh, Gangnam is like, it's like high class luxury and stuff like that. But then I found out it was just basically just workers coming in and out every day. And if you're like a digital nomad, you don't have like a fixed schedule, but you have to avoid the lunch times because everything is so packed. You don't get in anywhere. Right. So I was like, it's like now it's 11 until 1. I can't eat because everything is full. Yeah. So I just go to the 편의점, like convenience store, get some simple kimbap to eat. The best place I always came back is Mapo. So Hongdae, Sincheon, Hapjeong, around that area, that's where I feel like most comfortable. And the energy, that's where I always come back and stayed the most of my time.
It's brilliant. What's one thing that Korea needs for somebody like you that it doesn't have? So if you're coming here to work remotely, digitally, things like this, is there something that Korea needs to do, or that you've always felt, if it had this, it would be one step more?
Actually, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy. I was like,
Korea's doing it well.
Yeah. So I would say just like what I would feel like Korea needs to do is they have a lot of grants that goes to Korean companies to promote for foreigners. And I feel like this money is not spent well because all the promotion they do is the Korean way that foreigners never get to see. So that's where I now feel like there's a bridge I can get, that I know all the foreigners. I know how the marketing works for foreigners. And there are so many Koreans like, oh, we want to help foreigners. We have this service for foreigners. Why is nobody buying or booking from us? I was like, because you're not reaching them. You probably do Naver ads or Google SEOs, or you just want to find like a lot of following on Instagram. But these days it's more about trust. The foreigners these days, they are very sensitive and they need some kind of like testimonials from other foreigners who have been through the experience or the service to like give them feedback, or it's more like organic, what I feel like. But Korea is more like, okay, promotion in your face, but not like this pulling of trust and value-based marketing that's missing in Korea.
And some of the messaging is Korean-based messaging, with the vibes that they go for rather. And I can see that as well. Is Korea still cool? Because my personal opinion, I think sort of K-pop reached a zenith around the pandemic with BTS, and since then, of course, it's still popular. But does Korea still have pull in the international community, do you think? Is it still a place of today and the future, or is it a little bit last year?
I would feel like now they have the connections to the Western world. Before, it was like big news when BTS just broke into the market. But now the lanes and the places have the connection. They have the bridge already made. So now other artists can just go, right? So I feel like this is not newsworthy anymore, and it feels like it's less popular. But in reality, I would say they still are on the rise. And the thing is, like, Japan has already a very long established like soft power through animation and the culture that they have, samurais, ninjas that they have. And Korea is slowly developing it. And since I moved to Korea, I met many of my friends from Germany that I usually don't meet. So some of like I haven't seen for 20 years or 10 years that came to Korea. And then we met up again. Nice. And it's like, oh, like they didn't want to see me, but they came to Korea and I was there. And it's like, oh, Korea has a lot of interest in like the foreign community that wants to come, because now they visit Japan and then the next stop is Korea. So usually it goes that way.
Imagine there's a 21, 22-year-old, maybe in Australia, Europe. They've just finished their undergraduate degree. They're thinking of coming to Korea to work, like with their laptop, something like that. What advice do you give them, Kim? What do you tell them? They're young. Maybe they have an interest, but what do they need to know before they come? Or if they're thinking of coming?
I would say, if you come as a tourist, doesn't matter. Just come whenever you want. But if you want to come and live, I would highly recommend you to have a skill. It doesn't matter what kind of skill, may it be video production, coding, or any kind of skill, hard skill that you have that you can offer to Korea. Because Korea is very selective of who they let in. So you have to be highly skilled in something to provide value for the country and be let in on a visa. If you don't have it, I would say it's really hard to come and find a job here in Korea. And a lot of people, especially young people, say, I just want to live in Korea. It's like, this is good, but if you want to live long term, you come travel a couple more times.
Yeah.
Just get familiar, get to know people, and maybe get some connections for the future. Like maybe somebody needs a foreigner in their company and you're readily available. So to build the small network that you have, and then once the time is ready, you have the hard skills, you done your research, what Korea needs, then you can come and live.
Sounds good. Is there any Korean words or expressions that you like or that you've learned or that you think would be useful? So you said already what your mum taught you before going to a German kindergarten. What word, what expression, what idea do you think is useful for somebody coming to visit or to work here?
I would say if you learn nunchi, it would be very helpful for you. But not just like the word nunchi, but the concept of nunchi. If you have that, then you'll be very well like respected in Korea and know how things work, and you can see the flows going in and out.
Yeah.
This is like something. Actually, you can't learn it. You have to experience it to learn it. So
it's like trying to explain Confucianism. You can do it theoretically, but you need to feel Confucianism. You need to like live it, and then it makes sense.
Yeah.
I love your positivity, Kim, and I'm specifically happy that you found a home, or you felt at home. I think that's really important for people to feel comfortable in the world and also in themselves, because a lot of people don't always get that. Do you have, before we close out with some recommendations, is there any final kind of messages or things about being here in Korea that you think might be useful to say, or something that we've missed?
Yeah, I think in different stages, you need to set your expectations. Like if you come as a tourist, you can enjoy all the fun and everything Korea has to offer. But once you live here, you have to change your expectation of that what you did as a tourist won't last forever. So then you need to find your what now moment. That's what I actually had. So when I came on like my second year here in Korea, I was like, I'm so happy already. It's like, what do I do now? It's like I achieved all my goals that I have set out. It's like being a digital nomad, live in Korea, live very comfortably in Korea. And then I was like, okay, now I have to find another mission. And this is when I started like this documenting the articles I write, because I wanted to give back my knowledge to the next generation, basically to myself, my younger self that went through the steps, and now I'm just giving back, and it feels great. Just it gives me so many more opportunities, like meeting you here and also meet Tiger and all the different communities that I get invited to, and they feel like, oh, I read your blog, I love it, and it gives me so much joy. I can feel it. So yeah,
that's a lovely thing, and I think you say something that I experienced. It took me a lot longer than you. You did it very quickly, but that sometimes Korea is boring, and that's a nice thing. It's nice to be in a place where things just work, and you've lived it all, you've drunk it all, you've partied it all, and you're like, okay, now I'm here. Now where do I find a meaning within myself? Because sometimes Korea is the goal and Korea is the meaning, but Korea can't be the goal. The goals and the meanings, they have to come from within you, but Korea can be a great catalyst or a backdrop, I think, for people to achieve their dreams because of the way various systems work, such as the infrastructure, the hospitals, the convenience stores, the cafes. It can be a great playground, but also a great backdrop for success, I think.
I think that's true. And when you move into another country, you feel like everything is possible. So when I come here, I don't think too much about what I can't and can't do. If in Germany I try to open a business, like, oh my God, it's like the tax on how do I do this, because they're so strict and I feel like so confined. But in Korea, it feels more like I can do everything. Right? And it's amazing feeling to have.
it's very liberating, and you're released from the shackles of culture and tradition and the past. And in England, I can't imagine I would write a weekly column in a newspaper or go on the radio every day, but that's actually what I do. And here it still doesn't seem real. But yeah, completely agree. Kim, some recommendations: books, movies, dramas, albums, I don't know, animations, computer programs, cameras. 2 or 3 recommendations for us, please, Kim.
Listen to Twice.
Stan JYP.
Recommendation.
Do you have a favorite song? Is there a particular album like?
I would say Cheer Up.
Okay.
And the very beginning of their career and how I totally got into them. And then, yeah. What other recommendations are there? I would say just come to Korea, experience it for yourself. It's like, I can't explain or describe the feeling I had coming to Korea, but if you come, you will know what I'm talking about. So I would say don't be too stressed about coming. Just book your flight, come for a couple of weeks, then come back, and maybe next year come back again. A couple more years, come back again, and then you will find your ways to live in Korea long term. And yeah, good luck.
Kim, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. Let's close it out. Cheers, man. Okay. And relax. Nice. Nice.